So, given the fact this stars Anya Taylor-Joy, if you end up liking it, you can say it's very enjoyable. Emma stars Anya Taylor-Joy as the title character, a young aristocrat in London who enjoys playing matchmaker to others, though has no desire for herself to marry. She soon makes a new friend named Harriet, played by Mia Goth, and attempts to have total control over her love life, though the constant meddling soon leads her combating with everyone else around her, both friends and family. This is based on the Jane Austen novel of the same name, and it's also the fourth adaptation of that novel. Two of the most famous adaptations are one in 1996, starring Gwyneth Paltrow, and the other, a modern retelling the year before that you may know better as Clueless. This was also directed by Autumn de Wilde, making her directorial debut. She was previously known for her work in the music industry, having photographed album covers and directed several music videos. To be honest, I try to keep my expectations contained when it comes to period pieces like this. While they are well made, it's a subgenre that can be extremely dry. They're very dialogue heavy. So depending on how engaging the dialogue is, it can make or break the movie. So because of that, even if they're good on a technical level, there are a lot of movies that I found myself not wanting to revisit anytime soon. But I can safely say not only is this a great period piece, but it's easily one of the most entertaining Jane Austen adaptations I've seen. So, let's discuss. The visuals in this movie were incredible. The fact that Autumn de Wilde previously worked in photography clearly shows, because there were so many shots that felt like a painting come to life. This is very brightly colored, with the interiors and exteriors being equally beautiful, whether it's the skyline over the garden outside or the decor inside Emma's mansion. Everything just stood out immensely. Even if it was a scene taking place at night or in a darkly lit room, it wouldn't matter. The costume designs were very distinct. Say, it could be a bright yellow or a bright red, and it would give each scene so much life and energy. Like this one scene taking place inside a cramped stagecoach at night. There'd be this serious confrontation going on, but while you can definitely feel the tension, it never felt dismal. I also really enjoyed the film's score. This was done by Isabel Waller-Bridge, who also composed the score for the show Fleabag, and this was honestly one of my favorite aspects of the film. She'd keep the music very upbeat or whimsical, and there'd be this great energy going from scene to scene. There are big gaps in time through certain parts of the film, though with the musical choices she made transitioning from one scene to the next, you always felt like you were picking up 5 minutes later with these characters. There were even times I found myself tapping my feet to this music. That's how much I really enjoyed it. It was nice. Anya Taylor-Joy is absolutely fantastic as Emma. This is probably her most talkative role compared to movies like The Witch or Split. This requires her to chew everyone's ear off. Emma is someone who can be well-intentioned at times, but she's also very vain and wants control of everything. So whenever she wouldn't get her way, she'd just go off on someone, and it was great to watch. She's a very flawed character. You can't root for every decision she makes, especially when she oversteps her bounds into other people's personal lives. But it's natural for a protagonist to have flaws, otherwise they'd be kind of boring. So she felt very real. She knew what she wanted, and watching Anya Taylor-Joy just fire back at people and shut them down just made her a very strong protagonist. The rest of the cast is also great. Everyone gets a lot to do. Johnny Flynn plays Emma's best friend, and he tried to be the voice of reason anytime she'd get too wrapped up in her own selfish ways. He's the only one who would really stand up to her, and their exchanges would get very heated, so watching them play off one another was a lot of fun. Seeing Bill Nighy in action as Emma's father was also great. He'd be this cranky old man who overreacted to everything with finicky movements, and it was really funny. You know, that was also something that was done superbly in this movie. The humor. It wouldn't always be this side-splitting hilarity, like everyone's not coming out with a zinger every 2 seconds, but a lot of the humor would come from just subtle movements such as body language. Like Mia Goth, in one scene she'd quietly but quickly chew her food. Or Bill Nighy, in one scene he's talking to someone, and as he goes to sit down, he suddenly stands back up to finish his thought, and he does that multiple times. There's one guy who Emma tries setting up with Harriet, and he's really well-intentioned, but everything he does is just unintentionally creepy, from his smile to his posture. There's one scene, for example, where he paints this picture of Harriet, and when he goes to give it to her, not only does he frame it, but he puts these little doors in front of it, so he gives this whole presentation when he's giving it to her, and it's hilarious. And the humor comes at a consistent pace. It would never overdo the jokes, but even after a serious moment, it would throw in this quick little gag and keep you laughing, so I enjoyed that. My only major issue with this movie is the one that I've had with most other period pieces, which it can just be a bit too talky sometimes. I wouldn't call any scene unnecessary, but sometimes characters will just get too wrapped up in a conversation that I think it can just get to the point quicker. This mainly happens once it gets to the 45-minute mark. The first half of the movie almost exclusively focuses on the relationship between Emma and Harriet, and then it'll bring some other characters more prominently into the mix. And you have Emma and these other characters trying to outwit one another, and sometimes the exchanges can be funny, but other times they can just go on a bit too long. They'll just disrupt the pacing at times, and the momentum from the previous scene can be temporarily lost. This was a great time. I went in with reasonable expectations, knowing what kind of movie I was walking into. And while it did have a few of the issues that other period pieces have, those issues were relatively minor. It's very funny, gorgeously shot, has great characters, and a talented cast, especially Anya Taylor-Joy. I like this one a lot. Emma gets an 8 out of 10. I'd put this up there with The Favorite. They're both period pieces and are tonally very similar, with a quirky sense of humor that they maintain throughout. That's something you don't see often in these sort of movies. It's in a limited release now, and I believe it's getting a wider release in the coming weeks, so if it's playing near you, check it out. But let me know, did you see Emma, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Was it one of your favorite Jane Austen adaptations? Did you find it better or worse than most of them? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you like what you see, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time.